Alright guys, I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video, but today I'm going to be working on a Micro XXV Poulan chainsaw. See if you can see that. As far as I can tell, probably about 1977-78. This is a 25cc and denotes the XXV, and this is a 10-inch bar. Purpose for this saw mainly is just to kind of carry in the rig, in the truck, in the car, what have you. I went to change the fuel filter and pulled the old fuel filter out and split the line. So today we're going to be replacing the fuel line. Haven't seen any videos specifically on tearing this model down, so we're going to see what we can do and what kind of trouble we can get into. Tools you're going to need for this, pretty simplistic. Obviously new fuel line and filter, chainsaw tool. If you don't have a chainsaw tool, Phillips and a flathead, as well as some wire cutters and needle nose pliers. Should be pretty simple, and let's see how long this camera lasts, and we'll see what we can get done here for you. Alright, so first thing that you're going to want to do is to, and if you haven't ever looked at it, obviously just kind of tear it down and see what you have. You guys aren't going to be able to see this, but obviously there's tons of videos on YouTube. You know, when you pull the line out, the filter's supposed to be on the end of it, and when I pulled it, and this winds up being a little bit short, so I wasn't quite happy with that. Hard to grasp and get to. But the fuel line, when I pulled the old filter out of it, split in half. So that's not going to be good. You can't put a new one in, or you don't have enough just to cut off and put a new one in and obviously be able to function in there. So you're going to need to take it apart. This particular model runs from the fuel tank up through the handle and into the carburetor. So if you haven't looked at it and just say, hey, how can I function here? You can take, again, your chainsaw tool or your flathead screwdriver, and you're going to wind up taking off a few different screws to get to everything. The easiest is going to be to split everything apart, which we'll do here in a second. But you want to pull these screws out, obviously put these kind of in order somewhere. And this one in particular, I don't believe that the Phillips is a standard screw for these. I'm sure this got put in at some point. You should be able to use a chainsaw tool for everything. But you can pull that screw out and then the handle comes right off. And so that's fairly simple. You can see that the fuel line, and you may not be able to see this, but the fuel line just runs right through the handle up into the carburetor, which we're going to take this off next. Okay. And again, putting all these in order again, just so you don't forget where they go. Not too much to these. Operator's manuals are always nice to have. I wound up ordering one just to have it, in case I ever decide to sell it, anything like that. But cost me, I think, $3 plus shipping on eBay. So we'll see what we get. Okay, so cover off. As you can see, this is just your choke, which moves this little lever back and forth, which is going to open or close your carburetor depending on what you need to do. On this one here, again, you can see that the fuel line, which is what we're talking about here, is going to run up through the handle, and then it's going to run around over onto here. So that's the complete fuel line. We could just start pulling it out. What I think we're going to wind up doing, and I'll turn the camera off and do this and come back to you, is we're going to split this case open so we can pull through the top of this. Just make it a little bit easier. We'll be right back. Okay, so what we've done, just to speed the video up here a little bit, obviously just like you're going to change your bar, adjust your bar, take off the side, that's pretty simple. All that is going to be the one nut and the screw on the back. Okay? Then on the other side, what you do is there's just two other screws and they're going to be here. I don't know if you can see that, but they're going to be here and here, and you undo those. The tank's going to be kind of all encased in this. So then what you did is what I did was I took the needle nose pliers, and the fuel line just runs right into the carburetor right here. So you pull that off, and what we can do then is just kind of pull our line through. Easier said than done, right? Because it's flared on the end there. Okay. What are we going to do here? I really don't want to. Well, just for ease of video, we'll cut the end here. Flared end from years of being on there has made it hard to pull through. Okay, so that's almost through, and then we're going to pull through the handle here. And now at this point, all of this can kind of come apart because it's all going to be one unit. And now as you can see, that's real dirty. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to wind up cleaning that out just so it's clean for when we put it back together. And obviously it'll get dirty next time, but we'll go ahead and pull that all, clean that all out. What I usually try to do on this is just use some, degreaser, anything like that, and I think I have some pneumatic stuff that I'll probably wind up using. I wound up getting this at Lowe's on clearance, I believe. I got a bunch of these for I think $1 a piece, but it's just degreaser. It won't harm electrical components, which is always nice to see when you're next to all of that stuff, so you don't need to worry about that. Spray that in there, we'll wipe it down, get it all cleaned up, and then we'll get back to you and we'll run that new line. Alright guys, so we're back. Again, all I was doing there was kind of cleaning everything up. It's always nice to put things back cleaner than you found them, in my personal opinion. Makes everything run better, just kind of takes something out of the equation when you're talking about issues down the road, especially you get something all the way back together and you realize you got another issue. So that's looking a lot cleaner than it did on the last shot, as you can see. And again, this isn't fine china. You just want to make sure that it's quite a bit cleaner. Air intake's all in there and whatnot. So you just want to make sure that everything is quite a bit cleaner. Got all that goop out of there. And obviously kind of spray this down, not right where you're working because it's going to be fairly messy. I also pulled the tank. You didn't see it on the video. Pulled the tank out from in here. All you do is pull it out. And I cleaned that up as well. So that's looking quite a bit better. So the next step, again, we're talking fuel lines here, is just to pull the old fuel line all the way out. And I think what I'm going to do is wind up, because we're talking about having that issue. We'll see if it does. Oh, it pulled right out, no problem. So now everything's out. That's the old one. That's garbage. Okay? So next step obviously is to put the new one back in. Clean that up just a little bit here. And we'll kind of start rethreading everything. The other thing I did off camera is I did check the spark plug. Looks good, still new. That's not going to need to be changed while you're in there. You don't need to be in there to get to it, but something that's nice to do at times. Obviously, if you're having any other issues, oilers, anything like that, now would be the time to service those as well. But we seem to be okay on everything except for, again, that fuel line. So again, we got our new fuel line. All we need to do now is thread in, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that you give yourself, I was talking early on in the video about how I didn't have a lot of room to work with, so we want to thread the new line in, but we want to give ourselves an ample amount of room to work with. Now this is going to be tight. I may have got one size too large. We can always open this hole up a little bit. You don't want to have too much of a gap in there because it's going to leak when you start turning the chainsaw around if you have it another way. So what I'll do is I think I'm going to kind of work on this. I'll let you know what I do. If anything, we'll just open this hole on here just a little bit so we can get to threading that new line in there. What I will do first before I do that, before I'm committed, is I'll make sure that this is the proper size to fit onto that carburetor. Actually, I'll do that right now, and then we'll turn the camera off. So on the other side of things. Yeah, no problem. That'll be just what we need. Okay, so that's not going to be an issue. So work on threading this in here. What the plan's going to be is to put this in and put this into the hole, and I'm going to give myself, obviously this needs to hit the bottom of the tank, so you just need about, not a whole lot of room, but I'm going to give myself enough so I can pull it out and have about that much sticking out the top. So it's okay to have more. Again, next time you pull that fuel filter out, you're not going to crack a line. So we'll do that next, and I'll be right back to you. Alright guys, so what we did, and just so you guys know, is I took a drill bit, like I was saying, to open that hole up. I just kind of took a small drill bit and I stuck it in there, and I went one size higher, which happened to be 732 seconds. And I didn't take a drill, I didn't put it in there, I didn't put it under the drill press, anything like that. I just took the drill bit, and in my hand I just literally it almost threaded itself in there, and so I kind of threaded it in there and I just pulled it in and out. And that opened it up enough. Again, we're not talking rocket science here. That took it enough to just kind of shove in there with ease, no problem. It shoves right in there. I'm going to pull it through, and like I said, I want to have more room than I did before. Before I could only get it out probably about this much. And so I want to have plenty of room, so I'm going to stick it out, and I got some extra fuel line here. It doesn't need to be crazy, but I'm going to stick it out about that far. And then the good next step, just so you guys know, here's the old fuel filter. Metal ends. You can probably still get these. It honestly doesn't look horrible, but just since we're in here, again, it's probably going to be the best thing to put a new one in. Went down to the chainsaw shop and locally here and got this made in USA intake fuel filter. It says Zama. Okay, I paid $3 for it. I think if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you can get two of them for probably the same price. But again, it says made in USA. That's always good to know. Next thing is we're going to open this guy up and stick this on the end, so when we start pulling through, we don't unthread everything. So there's the fuel filter. Obviously, it's going to look a little bit different than the other one did. So here's the old one. And here's the new one. That's kind of what they've all gone to. It's a plastic housing instead of a metal end, but you do have the nice metal filter on the end there. So that should work for us. So we're going to get rid of that old one and put this new one on here. And again, hopefully this kind of fits in here, right? And I've seen some people cut them at an angle so it's easier to slip in. I kind of want to keep it flush, just so it's really on there. So you may have to work with this a little bit. I might have to turn the camera off here one more time and really get it on there. You don't want to use needle nose pliers if at all possible, because they have serrations on the end. And what'll happen is you'll split that line again, which is what we're trying to rectify. So I think what I'm going to wind up doing here, for sake of time, turn the camera back off. I'll pop this on here, and then on the next scene, basically what you'll see is I'll have this ready to go, ready to put back in, and we'll kind of bolt it all back together and hopefully get this thing started up for you. And should be a pretty easy job. Okay? Be right back. Alright guys, back again here. One other thing that I did, and I told you that I was going to be threading that tank through. I got the tank through, and there's the filter. And of course, you turn the camera off, it goes right on there, no problem. Push that right on there. That should be enough just to hold it. Has that little nipple on the end there to grab. That should be enough. Popped it back down into the tank, just to put the tank back into the housing here. There's a little clip that you need to make sure is pushed into the right section to make it all fit in there right. Pulled it back out so you guys can see. Another thing that I did, obviously cleaning out the tank and whatnot, you kind of shake it around, there's something else in there. And I said, well, what the heck's that? So just kind of got it out. It was a small little poly washer, and who knows where that came from. But what I did is, since I opened that hole up a little bit, just to be safe, I said we didn't want any gas leaking. I put the washer over the line on this side, pushed it all the way up to where the hole goes in, and you might be able to see if it'll focus. I'm using a camera here, using a photo camera here, not a video camera. And I only had white, but I used some silicone and just popped that on there, and that'll help seal that up. It's not high temp silicone, but we'll just see how it lasts. I can't harm it too much. And it was just a standard, silicone like you'd have in a tube using for your bathroom. Had some of that left over. So we got everything else here ready to go back into the machine. We'll kind of start putting everything back together here, and hopefully you can see this okay. Okay? So again, cleaned everything up. That's always, in my line of business, that's always number one, is making sure you're working clean, making sure we're all back together. If you have an air compressor or canned air, you can kind of spray in here. I did a little bit of that as well, not too much. Most of the gunk you're able to just pull out with a rag. And again, that degreaser that I was using. Just want to make sure you don't get any of the degreaser. I said it was okay on electrical components, on the wires, that type of stuff. It'll dry everything out. So if you are going to do that, you want to make sure that you're using actual electrical cleaner, and kind of go from that route. But obviously, it's a chainsaw. It's not, it's not going to be your fine china. So we'll kind of start threading everything back together here. As you're doing that, you want to make sure that this line, and you can do this afterwards, kind of goes right back up, because it's going to go through that handle again. But we'll make sure that we're kind of back in place before we really deal with that too much. So again, making sure we're not pinching any lines, doing anything stupid. Just kind of ease it right back in there. That's obviously where it wants to go. That's where it belongs. And again, the two long screws. And you can use silicone on the ends of these screws as well. Not needed, but you can. Just to make sure that everything's sealed up real nice. And we'll push those back in where they go. And again, use either a flathead or your chainsaw tool here to screw those back in. And make sure that we're where we need to be. And just kind of like you're doing a tire on a car, you want to make sure that you don't tighten everything down all the way, just so you get an even seal. Just like anything, standard procedure. So, obviously very exciting for you to watch me screw this in. Hopefully you can hear me. And we'll take a look at the video, and if it's horrible, I won't post it. If it's posted, well, maybe it's still horrible, but I decided to go ahead and do it anyway. Again, not too many videos on YouTube of this specifically, so it's always nice to see one more. I know it's amazing. You put something up there. I got something else on an old outboard motor on there, and you put one on there, and you can almost type anything into YouTube these days, and it's on there. So it's always good to see. So we will continue and do that. Okay, so that's on there. Again, now we just want to make sure. Yeah, I said don't do anything stupid, right? And of course, that's exactly what I've done. Is I've let the line go all the way through there. Okay, gosh. Okay. We're on there. Okay, so now, again, we're going to have to kind of come up through all the holes that we're supposed to go through. And thread up through this handle here. So I think I'm going to spare you some time again. I'm going to thread that back through the handle under, and we'll hook that back up to the carburetor. So, like I said, right now, we're kind of back together here a little bit. This side's all back together. Again, we'll push this back into the tank when we're done. We're going to thread our fuel line through this hole, as you can see right here, through that hole, up through here. It kind of goes under this channel. There's a hole in the front here that it's going to come out. And you can see back there the hole. It's going to come up through here, under, and go right onto this. So that's where we'll be at on the next one. Again, also I didn't know on these when I first got this is the air filter. It didn't have anything in there, and I was trying to look online to figure out where that, what that is. You chainsaw guys are probably not even watching this video anyway, but probably laughing at me. But I've never seen one with an air filter like that before. But we will get that back together and be right back to you once more. Alright guys, we're back. As I said, we threaded that through, up through here, up through the channel, underneath, out, into here. I did have to go in with the drill bit and open that hole up again, just like we did with the fuel tank. So this one as well as one right up here. It doesn't take much, but just makes it quite a bit easier. Again, I went down to the chainsaw shop. You guys are probably asking what kind of line are you using. Let's see if we can get this on camera here, but there you go. So it's Oregon brand 7256117 by 211. So I mean, take that for what it's worth. That's what the guys at the shop sold me. So that's what we used. Anyway, so we got to this point. Obviously, at this point now, we're going to use those cutters again, diagonal pliers, and we're going to cut this just right so it fits. Let's see if you guys can see. So we want to make sure, obviously we're going right onto here, so we want to make sure that we kind of cut it right there. We'll shove it on there and put the cover back on, fuel it up, and we'll see if we can get this thing started up. Okay. So let's move the camera back to where we were. Great editing work, I know. I apologize. Okay, so right amount there. Okay. So what we'll do again is we're going to cut this diagonal pliers, and we're going to cut this right about where it needs to be. And again, we got extra length on the back side if we need to. We can pull everything up here and shimmy it. That's kind of what I wanted to make sure that we did. So we're going to shove that all the way on there. That's not coming off perfect. Okay, that's what we want to see. And this is one of those saws that you just acquired. Obviously I didn't buy this brand new, not old enough to have been doing that in 1977, but what you want to make sure that you do before you do anything, and people do this with obviously not your brand new car, but you want to if you have an instruction manual, get it. They're great to look at, but I like taking things apart a little bit and seeing how they work, so I know obviously they're very simple. One thing when I first got this saw is the choke didn't move back and forth like it was supposed to. It says choke over and then obviously the run. And I just noticed that this has to fit into here and it wasn't in there. So I don't know, I think I found it easiest to just kind of get this, and you try to shove it on here and it doesn't move. So I think I wound up putting this closed and then turning this to choke, and then I think it lines up a lot easier. Yep, and then it works. So for me, that's the trick. For you guys, maybe you don't need to do that, but for me, that's what I did. And it just made my life a lot easier, right? So what we'll do is we'll put these screws back in, and we'll give this thing a start up here before we put the bar back on. Well, maybe I'll put the bar back on. So I think what we'll do, again, one more time, is I'm going to stop the camera here, and where in the heck? Right in front of me. And we will come back to you, and we'll go from there. One other thing on the fueling side that I wanted to mention is that, and this is probably all over YouTube, I don't know, but all the saws on the mixture ratios can be different, especially on the older saws. And there's a lot of theories behind anything, obviously, as to what you can do. Back in the day, fuel or gas wasn't as, oil wasn't as good, so you needed more oil. This says to mix 1/2 pint to 1 gallon, which you probably see all over YouTube. But really, honestly, I think that that's going to be a little bit rich, because that equates to 16 to 1. which you really don't even hear of anymore. Everything's pretty much 50 or 40 to 1 during the break-in period these days. I'm running just a little bit rich on the 50 to 1. I'm probably at 40 to 1 right now on this particular saw. And it'll still smoke pretty heavily, obviously, when you're moving around. And I think that if you're doing that, it's looking like it's rich. I can't even imagine what 1/2 pint to 1 gallon would look like. So, obviously you can use, good oils. There's all sorts of, debate on that. But that's kind of my take on it, is run it 50, 40 to 1, and you'll be fine. Such a small engine, the amount of oil difference, especially in those little mixture cups that you get, is negligible, even if you're looking at it on the gallon. So, should be fine. What I'll do is I'll fuel this up here and we'll get this started up. Alright guys, as you can see, I decided to put the bar back on before we start it up. Just a little bit easier. You always want to have, you don't want to free spin the clutch with no load on it. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is these fuel caps. And I don't know, I've seen them differently on this model. This one's got this little purge valve. I guess it's probably one of the later models. I mean, who knows, this could be... I think once you get into the 80s, the sticker changes on the side. I think this is about 77, again 78. You guys may be able to comment. I haven't tried to decode any of the numbers or anything like that. I think that's just what I've seen as far as advertisements. But on the bottom of this, when I initially was pulling the fuel filter out to replace it, and then we had the whole problem. Make sure you guys can still see. Is that this fuel cap here has this little chain on it, and you're not able to pull it very far out. So I pulled that chain out. So just so you guys know, in case anyone was wondering, we're going to put that back together. It's pretty simple. And this, again, has this little, you guys can probably see that here. I think it's so you can vent. I don't know that that works so well, because I think when you tip this hot, it starts to leak. So I may wind up putting an older cap on there with no vent. This wound up having this piece of foam in here. I don't know if that's, again, original to the saw, but we'll put it back in. And then what we'll do is it has this little small spiral piece of metal with the chain and that piece there. Before we put it back in, we don't want to lose it. We'll just kind of stick it in here. And I was thinking this could be difficult, but you just push it in and it snaps in. Pretty simple. And then obviously we're just going to pinch these two together and put it back into the hole. And then we should be able to see if this thing will start. So, without killing ourselves, you know what, I think those pliers might be a good idea to use. And of course I'm always trying to work clean, like I said, so I put them away already. But goes to show, keep everything out until you're done with the project, right? But we'll use these pliers again here, and we're just going to pinch this together. And we'll stick it in, and again, always on camera, I swear. You'd think it would be easier. Okay, so now that's in there. Again, the older saws, different carburetors and whatnot, they can be a little bit fickle when you start taking them apart. You put them back together, they've been put on side. And like I said before, we put a bigger fuel line on there. That's what they told me to do. Some of you guys may not want to do what I'm doing. We'll see how it works. But just so you know, here's the old fuel line. And I kind of had that metric layout on the other one. This one here is reading, this is what came off of it. Oregon, you probably can't read that, but Oregon 07-261, 330 seconds by 3/16. So that's what was on there. I don't know that I'm going to have to tune the carburetor due to the difference or not. Hopefully not, because it just would be one more project, but we'll see. Go ahead and see how this works here. And it's probably not going to let me... Okay, I guess I'm zoomed all the way out as it is. Okay. I'll try to keep the saw right there and we'll see if this thing will start up. Okay? See how it goes. Probably should turn it on, right? Gosh. Well, I may have flooded it again. Sometimes you don't think. Again, always on camera, right? Alright guys, back again. I think it was flooded. You know, me being stupid, I had the spark plug turned off, I had the electrical turned off, and I was pulling it. So, I pulled it a couple of more times after I turned the camera off, and obviously started seeing fuel puking out the exhaust. When you see that, obviously it's flooded. There's carb, you know, the carb's got too much fuel in it. And so, what a lot of people do is they say, hey, let it sit for 30 minutes and whatever. I just took a spark plug wrench, pulled the spark plug out, pull the cord about 5 or 6 times, let the fuel drain out, get a rag in there, clean it up, put everything back together, and usually it'll start. So I'm not going to turn the choke on. It should have enough fuel in it. Let's see what we got. And there you guys go. So, for future reference, that's how you do the fuel line on a Poulan XXV 25cc. Again, this is probably late 70s. Things to keep in mind again, work clean. Always try to have everything working on you, and you know, just kind of always listen to what other people are saying and take it for your own and figure out what's going to be best for you. Obviously the way that I do it may not be the right way, it's just the way that works for me. Appreciate you watching. Click like if you like, and don't if you don't. Thanks for your time.